on.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining our QualiWare Partner Spotlight webinar series. And today we are featuring CloseReach. CloseReach is a longstanding partner of QualiWare, and they do some great work. They're headquartered in Ottawa, in Canada, and I'm going to let Kevin talk about them in a few minutes. So just a few housekeeping rules. If you've got questions, we're going to save those till the end of the session. Can you please put them in the chat or in the Q&A session? The Q&A section would be preferred. We will be providing a copy of the deck and the recording after the fact to anyone who has registered. And I believe CloseReach has added some extra information about their project portfolio management tracker solution as well. So everyone will be receiving that. Joining me on the call today is Kevin O'Rourke, the president of CloseReach. Welcome, Kevin. Kirill. Kirill Kasyanenko, product management director for CloseReach. Welcome, Kirill. And Anthony Bianco, a senior business analyst with CloseReach. So we're just going to do a few sort of setting the stage slides to begin with, a little bit of vendor info. Oh, I see some applause coming up for our guests. Isn't that nice? A little setting the stage info. So Kirill, can we go to the next slide, please? Just a little bit about today's agenda. I'm going to talk a little bit about who we are, about what we call the metrics that matter, talk a little bit about our CloseReach partnership, and then really, why does PPM matter now? Why are people concerned with this? Why are customers asking for these solutions? And then I'm going to pass the baton over to Kevin at CloseReach, and he's going to provide a company overview. Kirill's going to talk about the PPM solution, and I believe it's Anthony who's going to talk about the customer use case. So getting started, let's go. So QualiWare, a little bit about us. Kirill, if you can get to the next slide, that would be much appreciated. Thank you. So we have been around for about 35 years now. So the company was founded in Copenhagen, in Denmark, by Kuno Brodersen, who's the original founder and our CEO today. We have, we really specialize, we're categorized by our good friends at Gartner, Forrester, and Infotech and the like as an enterprise architecture software platform, but we cover a lot of categories, right? So not only do we do enterprise architecture work, we also focus quite a bit on compliance management, business process management, and digital transformation. We are rated highly in the category as a visionary and thought leader for years by Infotech, by QKS Spark Group, by Gartner, by Forrester. And we have offices all over the world and partners all over the world. Kirill, if you can advance the slide, that would be great. There's a little more information on this one. And, we've got about 1,000+ customers around the globe. So we have a robust partner network. CloseReach is one of them, and this is part of the reason why we're doing our Partner Spotlight webinar series. So moving on, we want to talk a little bit about market credibility and about what we think the metrics that matter. So again, we've been around for a long time. We've got a lot of experience. We've seen a lot of the machines of different organizations globally. So we've got lots of guidance to share. We have 1,000+ customers, and we're growing every day. And the numbers that I think really matter, if you can go to the next slide, is that business impact, the result of being embedded in a customer's organization, right? Here's an example of 6 different outcomes from 6 different organizations, right? It's about making impact. It's not about documenting things anymore. It's really about being relevant to what is happening in your company's organizations. And so if we can go to the next slide, that would be great. So just maybe a couple minutes on why does this matter now and what is the marketplace telling us, right? So in today's ever-changing market, your investment decisions, optimizing your costs, that matters more than ever. And I often advise folks and teams to focus on and measure what matters. Also something that CloseReach mirrors as well. So, if you take a look at your CIO's calendar, what is the bulk of their meetings relating to? And what is the bulk of your activity relating to in terms of that CIO's priorities, right? So we really think that it really matters what you are focusing your activity on and how best are you contributing to your organization, right? So if you're focusing on project portfolio management, you're really enabling your organization to prioritize the right initiatives, align your investments with your strategic business objectives, and optimize your resource allocation. It's ultimately about improving your delivery outcomes and making a business impact, right? And supported by QualiWare, and CloseReach, organizations can gain a centralized, real-time view of their project portfolio and allow your decision makers to really evaluate your risks, your dependencies, your costs, your benefits, and your strategic alignment before committing those resources. So that really is the focus of today's webinar and the focus of the work that CloseReach has done with some customers, and they're going to share with you now. So with that, Kevin, I'm going to pass the baton to you.
Great, thanks, Brenda. So today we're talking about project portfolio management. That capability is available out of the box, and we've developed specific management systems for some of our customers. Kirill, move on. A little bit about CloseReach. We're a Canadian corporation. We're established in 2004, headquartered in Ottawa, and we have offices in Halifax and Toronto. And our expertise matches the QualiWare's capabilities perfectly: enterprise architecture, compliance management, and business management systems. We've been a partner since 2009, and we have clients ranging in team sizes from 10 to over 100,000 full-time employees. And we've worked extensively with the federal government here in Canada, and over 30,000 QualiWare licenses are distributed among those clients. We're really focused on driving business value and reducing risk. Everything that Brenda said, focusing on and measuring what matters. Major pain points we see today: information silos, data relationships, and application integration, and really a lack of sophisticated operations management systems. And that's where QualiWare, as a low-cost, low-code platform, helps us serve our customers. And AI is a pain point. Well, a lot of people see that as a benefit. A lot of our customers are like, how do we deal with this thing that's on the top of everyone's mind? And so, we're working on integrating that into the management systems that we deliver. And again, over 20 years experience in the marketplace. Kirill, sorry, Brenda, did you have something?
I was just going to say, if you can go back one slide for me, Kirill, real quick. I think, Kevin, your call out about data readiness for AI is a really important one, right? And I think you and I both had those conversations where we see that's a real concern for many organizations, because if you don't have that data readiness, that sort of clean data, and think about what are you feeding your AI, right? It will only amplify your chaos. So that's a real need that Kevin and the CloseReach team is seeing in our market and in our clients and prospects.
And in each customer, we're seeing it from 2 points of view. One is from the management point of view, in terms of risk management, in terms of AI governance. What am I using out there? How safe is it? And things like that. The other point of view that we see is from the developer's point of view. And they really, to be honest, governance is the last thing on their mind. It's how can I use AI to push things forward? So you're dealing with those two competing priorities, and you need to address both audiences. So.
Yeah, no, that's another key point, is that AI governance aspect for sure. Everyone wants to get there fast, but where are we going and how are we getting there?
Okay, Kirill. We're all about improving decision-making for our customers, collaborating and using the visualization capabilities of the tool set to make it easy for people to understand where they're at, accelerating innovation, reducing risk. And across, the diagram on the right shows all of the capabilities, where we're making a difference with our customers. Move ahead. Kirill, go ahead.
So that will be my part. Thank you very much, Kevin. Right now, we're going to be showcasing you folks project portfolio management solution that we've created and configured. There are going to be two portions of it. One, me demonstrating you a base solution which came from the client demand. And then also Anthony afterwards will be showcasing you a very much specific, localized and configured version of that solution toward a client that wanted to manage over 500 capital acquisition projects. So a little bit about this dashboard. This dashboard is something that has been built and configured by us using out-of-the-box functionality, which allows you to easily link that project content with the rest of your QualiWare functionality. We are talking about enterprise architecture, project process management, compliance, and so on. The solution was, like I said, built based on the client demand. So the customer came to us and said, I have a number of project management tools. I have a number of spreadsheets that's never up to date, and somebody left the organization. Now we don't have an updated spreadsheet on the risks relevant to those projects. We don't have a robust risk register system in place. We also don't have one centralized system where we can see everything about projects, financial data of those projects, and overarching strategic data of those projects as well. So this is where it came from, really. It came from the customer demand, and we've prepared that base solution based on the conversation with the client. I want to move on to a quick highlights before I showcase the live demo of this tool. So it is a centralized repository for entire project portfolio. It is designed to manage both individual projects and portfolio of projects. It is designed for decision makers, portfolio managers, and individual project managers. It has standardized governance and life cycles. We help you to manage the governance, understand what's the state of those projects are, how they are moving along, and where should I be prioritizing really my time in, depending on where those projects stand. Project risk registration and mitigation. Some of you folks know that QualiWare excels in risk management, and this is something that we took an advantage in our PPM solution. And essentially, we allow those portfolio managers to track risks, mitigate the risk by applying the controls, and have appropriate risk heat maps to display where the risks are at and where should I be really spending my time on. And finally, it is a fully configurable and integration-ready project catalogs and the solution itself. So, like I said, I'm going to be showcasing you a base tool set. And then Anthony afterwards will showcase you how we've adjusted that tool set toward the specific client needs. I'm going to move on to the live demo. And Brenda, if you can confirm if you can see my screen in a second, that'd be great.
We can see. Yeah,
right.
We're good.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so foremost, you guys can notice that the screenshot that I've showcased you just a second ago looks a little bit different from this dashboard, right? It's been reshuffled. So quick note about QualiWare. QualiWare is all about personalization. At the top right there, you see project portfolio management. This is our dashboard. And you can have multiple number of the use cases in the dashboards that represent those use cases. We are talking about process management, compliance, APM, and so on. Now, the beauty of it is that if I was to click on the change layout and enable a personalization mode, I could reshuffle the information, I could hide, and I can pin down a particular tiles that would be of interest to me. So depending on what we do with our customers, they want to see the charts in the front, and then they want to see the catalogs right at the end, or vice versa, depending the stakeholders we're dealing with. So I'm gonna disable that personalization mode, and I'm gonna talk about the actual dashboard. So here, as you can see, the project statuses. The project statuses gives you an immediate understanding on where's, sorry, give me a second. Where is the current state of my projects at? So we have the number of the projects, their budgets, start and end date, what's their governance status at right now, and then here you see the 3 slices of that pie. And if I was to click on planning, this would recalculate the information and show me the relevant projects that are currently in the planning mode, initiation, and execution. And if I want to learn a little bit more, I can simply click on Project C, And this will give me a short description of that particular project. What is it linked to? Do we want to provide any comments or any actions like editing the project, adding additional information about those projects? Are we ready to approve that particular project? And then if I was to click on the exclamation mark, this is going to give me access to my governance workflow. So the governance workflow, it's basically a robotic process automation tool that allows you to expedite the process of approvals. It helps you to collaborate with your peers on project management, on any other items in QualiWare. And here, as you can see, it's currently in execution mode. We can push it to the monitoring and controller, or we can rewind it back to planning or initiation. And every single time when we do something about that particular project, the rest of the charts get updated automatically. And you also get something happens in the background. You might get an email notification saying that, hey, this project has been moved from initiation to planning now. Can you please review the requirement model and see if you have any comments, or do you like it or you dislike something about those requirements, or do we need to do a little bit more work on that? So it helps you to essentially automate that follow-up process on, hey, can you take a look at your email and make a decision about those projects? This is fully configurable, by the way. So Anthony in the next section will showcase you how we took it from 5 different stages to about 10 to 15 number of stages and essentially stakeholders that run and make a decision around the projects. So this is the project statuses. Now we go into the Gantt chart. We want to see what is the current schedule of those projects. When do we start those and when do we finish those as well? So again, gives you a quick understanding. What's the timeline of those projects? Are they multi-year projects, or do they just take a week to complete those? We also look into the on-time and on-budget projects. So here's you have number of on-time projects. There's one that's behind the schedule. You can immediately see where should I be spending my time on, right? If things are going well, then I shouldn't be really allocating any time on schedule. I need to take a look at those that are behind the schedule. In similar format to on-budget projects. So here's we have on-budget projects, and then you'll notice that here's 2 of them that are under the budget, and then 1 is over the budget. So that's those 2 that gives you indication on time and on budget charts. And then finally, we have cost. So the cost would be giving you the different segments and breakdown of all sorts of different costs that we can track in QualiWare. We can start with administration cost, direct cost, capacity cost, and so on. This gives you really a transparency into the cost structures and gives you an understanding where should I be again spending my time on. And if there's certain costs that's off the hand, then we should be really paying attention to those and disregard the others. So just by seeing those five charts, you can see an immediate visibility into your portfolio health. What's the status of those projects? What's the timeline? Are we on time? Are we on budget? And what's the cost of those projects? So this is somebody like decision maker or portfolio manager would really appreciate interviewing those things without getting into too many details on catalogs, or we're talking about very detailed reports where you need to read on financial data or milestones or project activities that might not be of interest to him on a strategic level. So what happens if I want to grab this data and I want to just simply extract it into the PDF style report? I'm going to the meeting, I want to print this information, I want to present it to my peers. So here's we have a good old style PDF report on investment schedule, and it will highlight me the projects, their contribution levels, the cost associated with those projects. What is the probability of the implementation of it? And what strategic objectives does that support in our organization? And all of those reports are fully configurable to the needs of your organization. So if you would want to see the correlation between your projects and capabilities, or your projects and processes that you're managing in your organization, you're able to display it right in this nice report. All right. Now we go into the project diagram. So what the project diagrams really do, it shows you a strategic alignment and a little bit more visual information around your projects without going through the details of Excel sheets or tabular formatted information. So if you would like to learn a little bit more about strategic roadmap relevant to your projects, you could simply click it here, and then this will highlight me a number of projects associated with my portfolio essentially, and go for each individual project or project steps and see their timeline. What if I want to learn a little bit more about critical path, and I want to drill down into the critical path and see what's my critical path toward the projects that I'm undertaking. So here's in the red, you have a highlighted critical path with earliest finishes, latest finishes, select time, and then you will notice in green here, you have the optional routes. For every single individual critical path needs to have a critical path and optional paths. All right. What happens if I want to learn about my stakeholders in the projects? In the visual format. Again, I'm not interested right now in tabular format. I'm interested in the map. Here's you have a project. Here's we have a company A, and the company A works with company B on that project. And here's the number of stakeholders, external stakeholders and suppliers we might be dealing with on this particular project. Just by looking into this stakeholder model, you can clearly understand who should I be talking to and how things are interconnected with each other. All right. So that was really about the project diagrams and strategic alignment on the visual scale of things. Now we're going to get into a little bit more individual project managers' views, and I would say detailed views of those projects. So now we want to learn a little bit more about the project details, performance indices, project dates, economy, and then we get into the capabilities and implementation statuses of those projects and initiatives. So when I click on project details, this will give me the list of my projects that I'm currently overseeing, start date, end date, what's an actual date. You will notice that this is empty because we haven't finished a single project yet. What is the budget? Do we have a business case for that? What's the implementation likelihood? Work models, critical path models, work breakdown structures are all available right there for you. And if I was to click on any of those buttons, this would load me the map or diagram so I can do the further analysis. And here's my stakeholders and project team. Project manager, what's the organization that's overseeing that project, and who is the IT business partner? All of this information, it's queries, right? So you could filter it down, you can use pivots in it, and if I was to click on that column and filter it and search Emily, I would find that Emily is responsible for this particular project, and her budget is $1.4 billion project, quite substantial. You can imagine that the client demand and the customers we were developing this demonstration for in the solution are dealing with the high-level complex projects in the organization. So what if I want to export it to Excel or PDF? I could simply do that, and this would export me that particular line. And if I was to remove the filters, it would export me entire table. You can obviously register the project over here, and it would open the web form for me. And essentially, it would give me an opportunity to fill out the name of the project, short description, reasoning, in scope, out of scope statements, and fill out all sorts of details around the project. Now, this all data could also obviously can be integrated with your project management tools and external databases where you might be handling those projects. Performance indices. This is something that's, that makes sense. You have the number of projects. And here's you have all sorts of traffic light system that indicates how well we are doing on those projects. We don't just want to see the charts, we want to see some details. So here's you have the earned value and planned value where we are tracking our projects. Here's we have CPI. CPI would be cost performance index. And then here's the status of that CPI. Are we under the budget or over the budget with those projects? SPI, scheduled performance index as well. Are we underperforming or overperforming based on the schedule? What's the plan end date for those projects, and then delivery status. Are we on schedule or we are behind the schedule for those particular projects? So this is another way for you to get the insights around your portfolio, get the understanding of the health of that portfolio, and see where you should be really prioritizing your time in your portfolio. What about the dates? I want to learn a little bit more about the dates on my projects. So here is you have the projects and then the stakeholders are right there. And here we have earliest starts, earliest finishes, latest start, latest finishes, and optimistic and realistic timelines that it takes to complete the project in days. And then you can even get the details such as the free and total slack on each individual project. Project economy. We looked into the chart where it breaks down those cost segments. Now you can have a tabular format that displays the projects, the management cost, planning cost, operational cost. You can input the hourly rates, the total information of those particular costs, the cost verbal. So you can describe what's the cost associated in doing that project. What are the main items that we need to watch out for? And here's you have essentially the cost broke down by category, finance, administrative, and so on. And now we get into them a little bit more of connecting the projects with the rest of our architecture and organizational, essentially, artifacts in our organization. So here's you have the project. You have in scope and out of scope statements. So you have the reasoning behind why you want to have those projects in place, the sources. And here we have the connection between the projects and capabilities, how they're interconnected and how many projects deliver certain capabilities in our organization. I want to drill even deeper. I want to learn about those initiatives and projects and how they support or how those processes and associate systems support those projects. So here's you have projects and then from and to dates. What are the participating units that work in those projects or initiatives? What are the processes that are being supported right now by those initiatives? What are the applications that work within those projects? What's the implementation roadmap? And what is the strategic roadmap relevant to that particular initiative or project? Again, now we are linking that project portfolio management data to the rest of your management system that you might have in QualiWare. And now we go into the initiative implementation status. Now I want to learn about those projects, their completion stage, their budgets, and then what's the latest milestones that we have for those particular initiatives or projects. So again, you can get into really granular information to give you a glimpse of your portfolio. And if the charts and the reports are not enough for you, you can just simply jump into the one of the catalogs and learn more about your organization and your portfolio. Finally, one of the clients have mentioned to us that when they were looking into our project portfolio management solution, their current need was managing risks, which they didn't do a really good job on by using existing platforms. Their existing platforms just simply did not support that. And as you know, QualiWare excels in risk management. So we've included risk assessment tile over here, which allows you to register the risk, do risk mitigation, do alternative risk assessment, include the heat maps of those risks, describe all sorts of impacts relevant to those risks and to your organization. We could be granular and include corporate finance, project finance, corporate reputation, and even legal compliance. And then if I was to click on the project risk, this is going to load me an example where we have a project and we have an associated risk with it. And what's the likelihood and significance of this risk? Do we want to mitigate it? If we do, we have a certain number of controls that are relevant to those risks and how they are being reduced and whenever we see the residual likelihood and significance of that risk. If I want to have the visual on my risks, I can simply click on risk heat maps, and this will load me the catalog with all associated heat maps. And I will click on risk and control heat map. This will give me a visual about inherent risk of my organization, and then residual risk of my organization after we apply the certain controls toward that portfolio. Again, very much visual, helps you to understand where things are at and what things are out of control in my organization. And to summarize that, really, this is really one overarching dashboard that gives you an integrated view to understand the health of my portfolio, status and stages where my projects are at right now, where do I need to spend my time on right now, and then if I want to drill deeper into the details of those individual projects, I can simply do that with the catalogs that I presented just a minute ago. Before I move on to Anthony, are there any questions? So Brenda, we're going to be taking questions at the end of the session.
We certainly are. So
Okay.
maybe we just move to Anthony, but a fantastic overview, Kirill. So thanks for showing us all those different perspectives that people should be considering with their projects. I mean, and shouting out the flexibility of the solution, right? So you can tailor it to what makes sense, what's relevant to your leadership. And, you know, just some fantastic insights just in those project costs, right? So I know that that's where a lot of people struggle. So, you know, here's your projected spend, here's your actual spend. Those are great nuggets of info to have, that's for sure.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to Anthony's slides right now. Anthony is going to take over, and
Perfect.
he's going to talk about specifically how we've applied that project management solution and developed a project and change management tracker for one of our clients. So Anthony, off to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Kirill. So yeah, just to piggyback off that, a customer came to us and they were using an MS Access based solution to manage hundreds of projects. So what that consisted of was the database with a page or a record from Access database with, let's say, 30 points of data, mostly manually entered, and a massive text field. And in that text field were the updates to the project. So when one group got it, they would say, okay, received and signed, and then so on and so forth. So you can imagine how long that one text field could get. And remember that it is all text. So very difficult to pull data from that, as well as pulling data necessary when an internal audit comes through. So it can be pretty grueling to find all the information you need. You know, how long was a certain project in a certain status, or how long was it with a particular group? So very low visibility as well for the users. So, and I'll talk about the users when I open up the actual tool. But each user was finding it difficult to find out, you know, what they needed to do, when they needed to do it, and find it difficult to pull the data they needed when they needed it. So they came to us, they presented this issue, they presented all of their pain points, and they asked if we could help them. And we thought that we could definitely use QualiWare to provide them the proper tools. Next slide, Kirill, please. So what did we present to them? So a low cost, low code platform, dashboards, which you'll see, dashboards actually centered on the user, not function. They wanted to see change requests and risk, which again, they had low visibility on with Access database and using a whole bunch of other different applications to manage all of this. So we actually brought it all into one. So the automation, the projects, the change requests to those projects, and the risks on those projects. We used QualiWare to centralize all of that. And of course, very key, Kirill mentioned it as well, the governance workflow, which we'll see is going to help with a few of their pain points. And now I will go into the okay, so here we see the tool, and right at the top you can see right away we have those dashboards that are focused on the different users. Now, this is a little bit different. Usually we see QualiWare dashboards focused on functions, so process management, compliance, risk management. But in this case, we spoke to all the different business users, and we decided to take this approach. Now, keep in mind, this is for demo purposes, so we're seeing all of the dashboards. But when a user logs on, and let's say they are the director, they will only see their own dashboard. They won't be seeing everything else. I'll walk us through the different users here just before I actually go into the dashboard. So the director, they of course manage a large team consisting of team leads and project managers. The team lead manages their team of project managers themselves. And of course, the project manager are the ones that administer the project, send it through all its states, verify that all the work is being done correctly, everything's on schedule. And the client. The client are the users who are submitting these projects. So they're submitting the projects, maybe they're also submitting the change requests. And this is also giving them visibility as well, which we will see. So first, we're going to start on the director dashboard. So the director came to us and said, not enough visibility. It's too much. I'm getting emails. I need to go into the MS Access database. I need to search through all these records. So we've given them a list of reports here. So urgent projects, clicking into here, they can see the live urgent projects in their team or in their group. Project risks. How many projects are at risk currently in my group? Change requests. How many of my projects are requiring change requests at the moment? We've given them a search. So easy search, I'm just going to type in 565, and we'll see there's change requests attached to it, to that specific project, and 2 projects starting with 565. So we're taking away the need to go through a different database or maybe several databases to find out what they're looking for in one page, and that's what we stress. It's not even in one application. It really is all on one dashboard. They can see what is going on with their team. And then we have these other charts, they can see who's maybe overworked, which of my team leads right now is taking on too many projects. Maybe that could be the reason for a bottleneck. Down here, we have a bit of a master list. So projects in state. So you'll see the states down here, and this is sort of all the projects in my team, and I can filter on them by state. So again, very easy for a director, someone, very high up, to drill down into the details they need to see within, 2 clicks. And that's what we really wanted to stress with this solution. Over here to the team lead. Team lead is very, very similar. They want to see most of the same information the director would want to see, but they want it tailored to them. So project risks, urgent projects, they don't really want to worry about those risks and projects that belong to another team lead. They want to worry about the ones that they have to manage. So you'll see here, projects in state. For now, for example, the team lead is Katie Anderson. So these are all the projects that Katie Anderson is the team lead on. So exactly like the director, except personalized down. So again, we're removing the need to have to sift through data that may not concern that specific user. We want them to see what they want to see when they want to see it, and that's it. Again, speaking to these users, we want to know who should be able to do what. So you see up here, the team lead can register a change request. So maybe they just get an email from one of their clients that says, hey, this order needs to change. They can go in here themselves. And again, that all comes out of, requirements gathering with the different business users. Here's the project manager dashboard. And again, only what they are the project manager for. So if I'm logging in here, I'm the project manager. I'm not going to see John Smith's projects. I'm going to see my projects. So my projects, which of my projects are urgent? Which of my projects are in procurement, let's say? And here is a to-do list. So which are currently with me for action. So we'll see a little later on in the governance workflow that the project isn't always going to be with the project manager. Sometimes they send it off for signature to another group or another party. So that's going to be removed from their to-do list and will then be with procurement's to-do list or, the environmental analysis to-do list. And then the client. So a big requirement from our customer was increased visibility for the clients. So the clients basically, they submit their project, but then they kind of lose visibility on it. So now we've given them a page here and they can now submit a project. So you'll see here, submit new project. I'm going to click that. And we've built out this form for them. So very simple. And I'll fill this out a little later when I talk about the governance workflow, but just to show you that the clients are now given that. And now the clients can now see, okay, show me all the projects I've submitted. What state are they in? Who's working on it? So that they know who to contact right away. They don't need to ask someone else who's managing this, who's managing that. They see all the information right away for them. I want to speak about one other thing. Another requirement from our customer was, again, it all kind of centers around visibility, right? In bigger groups, again, it's not always, this group may manage the projects, but the project isn't always with them. Sometimes it goes off to a different team. So in this case, I'm just going to open up our governance workflow. And like Kirill mentioned, this has been configured to be a bit longer. So Kirill's was 5. I think, yeah, this is around 10. Very easy. It's like drawing a map. So we've drawn maps in QualiWare. This is like drawing a map in QualiWare, except it automates our process and takes us through the life cycle of a project in this example here. So you'll see here it goes from an administrator. So let's say we create the project, it goes into initiation, and then it's assigned to a project manager. So you'll see here there's these red lines going back. These are essentially rewinds. You can leave comments. So we've given power again through some requirements gathering. Some of our users want to be able to send it back. They want to be able to leave a comment on a project, send it back to where they got it from and say, hey, this needs fixing. Before that required, who knows, 3 emails likely back and forth. In this case, you get the record, you get the project, you leave your comments, you send it back. There's an automated email. It goes back to the user. Hey, a comment's been left. You need to fix A, B, C, D. Let's say you need to fix the cost. The cost needs to be lower. That's only one email. And then in that email, a link to the project in QualiWare where they can go in and fix what they need to fix and send it back. So we're cutting down the time. We're cutting down the administration time for this, for the life cycle of the project. So you'll see here, right after project manager, we send it off to an environmental analysis and procurement analysis. So these, let's say, are different teams, different groups. And our customer was lacking visibility into those teams about what's going on with the project after they get it. Well, how do we fix that? We bring them into the fold. We bring them into the solution. So now the procurement team receives the record in QualiWare. They open it up in QualiWare. They update it in QualiWare. Now it's in procurement signatures for a procurement signature. So what does that give the director? A state to maybe filter on. Hey, how many of my projects are with procurement? So this governance workflow is allowing the entire life cycle of the project, no matter who it's with, to be tracked with high visibility. Another thing that our customer ran into was an internal audit. So you can imagine with MS Access, how grueling finding and pulling all that data can be, because not only is it in MS Access, it's in maybe the information is maybe in 3 other databases. So they found that to be a long process, an arduous process, and they're busy. They don't have time to be looking for all this data. So what QualiWare does is, of course, centralizes everything. And when an internal auditor comes in and asks for, a certain piece of data, like, how many projects are getting held up in this state? Well, we can easily find that with all of this governance functionality. So if I'm going to go back here. Go to project manager, to-do lists, and I'm going to pick a project from here. So right away, we see all the details. So remember, when we're looking, so let's say this was an internal audit and they pick 10 random projects to take a look at. Well, all the detail is going to be there for them on page, and very key, timestamps for everything. So in this case, it's only gone through two states in the governance workflow, but you can see how easy it is for an internal auditor to quickly see, okay, it changed state on this date. How long was it in that state? So our customer was extremely impressed with stuff like this because it makes their life easier. Instead of using 10 different applications and pulling data from all those applications, now we only have one. Something else that we've run into is sometimes these groups, they require hard signatures, basically. So signatures, official signatures, let's say. And this governance workflow, while it may be great for tracking dates and states and all that stuff, sometimes it doesn't work for signatures and they may want something more. So a solution we've proposed is actually just putting that signature page, let's say, attach it to your project right at the start, so that all through the life cycle, it's being opened and signed by the next person. So you'd receive an email saying, hey, this project is ready for your signature. Please open up the attached document and sign. And that document can be kept in SharePoint. No problem with that. And you'd open it up, it'd direct you to SharePoint, you'd sign, close, and send it to the next person. Send the whole record to the next person. You see right here, open it up, sign, send to analyst for review and signature. Change requests. So also we wanted to eliminate, I mentioned before, someone may get an email, that may still happen. If you're a team lead or a project manager, your client may email you and say, hey, I need this change request on this project. No problem. That's why we've given the project manager and team lead that power. They can register their change requests right from here. I will just name it that. And your change request can pop up and you could put in all the information, concerns, you can attach your project in here. But we've also given the client that power. So you can see that we're enabling the clients as well in this solution, and that's exactly what our customer wanted. They didn't want anyone in the dark, especially the clients or especially themselves. So basically, our client came to us with an Access database, very old, lots of data swimming around, lots of text fields, very hard to pull data, and they ran into an internal audit, which was, again, a grueling process to go through just because of all the places their data was being kept and how hard it was to pull. And we've given them, like the slide said, low code, low cost platform, entire life cycle of the project now tracked, visibility into every group and every business user, and easy to pull data, easy to pull governance data, especially for these internal auditors. Thank you.
Fantastic, Anthony. I think, you had a couple of good call-outs, right? That the manual upkeep, in your words, was grueling. Or maybe in the client's words, was grueling, right? And that's a real key advantage of using something like this and seeing those different views, those sort of persona perspectives on your different business user dashboards is fantastic. Kirill, did we have more slideware that you guys wanted to go through? Because I know we're getting close to time and we have a few questions.
I am just going to share this slide, actually.
Okay, fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah, great. There was a question during Anthony's portion. So Beverly, even if a task has moved to procurement, a PM must be able to have a status of what is outstanding or what is the bottleneck for follow-up. She says, I'm sure this is covered, So did you guys want to talk a little bit about those views?
Sorry, which views? Sorry.
That a PM must be able to have a status of what's outstanding. What what projects are outstanding, or what's the bottleneck to follow up?
Right. So there is a way to do that. So we do the same here at CloseReach for actually document review. So if outstanding, basically a report, and you'd have all of your outstanding projects, which projects are today's date late. So maybe highlight them in red. So a quick list for the PM to see visually which are the ones I need to follow up on.
Yeah. Beverly, if there's more to your question, feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. But if that will do for now, we'll also follow up with you personally. The CloseReach team will, and maybe go into a little deeper dive session for you. We do have a few other additional questions. Oh, hang on. We've got something popping up in the chat. Let's go there. David, you mentioned this is an out-of-the-box configuration demo. How would you handle project dependencies, where one project might be dependent on one or more projects to complete?
Yeah, so I can jump in on that.
Sure.
So our base solution would definitely be able to support a number of dependencies and linkages from initiatives or any other projects that you might have as a prerequisite to that project. And we could have both tabular format system to generate a visibility of what's the prerequisite and what's the follow-up stages to a particular project or initiative. And then we could also enable a governance workflow, which Anthony and I have demonstrated, to automate that process so people understand that first you can start working only on those two projects before you can approve or do anything with the other projects that might be dependent on the prerequisites. So there are mechanisms in place that could be enabled and could be absolutely configured as part of our out-of-the-box solution.
Okay, fantastic.
Part of the workflow that Anthony demonstrated showed a procurement step. In that procurement step, a contract is generated and purchase orders. So there could be multiple purchase orders generated against one contract. There could be multiple contracts against one project. So again, you're dealing with sort of that multi-tier situation where you have those kinds of dependencies happening. So that's handled within the solution that we've built for our customer. You're seeing anonymized data today, that Anthony was using. George Costanza was one of our key project managers there. So
Excellent. Excellent. I don't know if this one's for you, Kevin, or for Kirill, but the question is, are you expecting users to put info directly into QualiWare, or can you also integrate existing project management tools or data from other sources?
Yeah,
I will jump in on that.
Well, actually, Kirill, I'll give an example actually of a customer we have right now who takes a download every night from their financial system and drops that information into QualiWare automatically. So a scheduled job handled every night. If you need something more frequent than that, then you build an API to transfer that information automatically. So
yeah, Kirill, did you want to expand?
Yes, and if you need to add any additional data, you obviously can use QualiWare for that. And Anthony have demonstrated today during his demo that you can input some of that data in QualiWare, and as long as there is a proper integration, it could also reflect the data and the information in the rest of your systems and the ecosystem and the organization as well. So a combination of both is obviously available in QualiWare.
Okay, Anthony, I'm going to give you this one. If you use QualiWare for PPM, can you also use the other capabilities of QualiWare? And of course, as the QualiWare person, I'm expecting your answer is yes, yes, yes. Such as process modeling, enterprise architecture, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and the answer is absolutely yes. Like in my solution I showed, we have the dashboards filtered on certain users, right? But at the end of the day, they are just dashboards. If our customer were to say tomorrow, you know what, this is great, I also want to add on let's go for ISO 9001 compliance. I want a compliance dashboard. The answer is no problem. We'll build a compliance dashboard right next to those users where then they can go track all of that data as well. Same thing for if they wanted, maybe they want to build out risk management. Maybe those few reports maybe aren't enough. They want to expand. No problem. We'll build out a more enhanced risk management dashboard for them that they can access.
Right.
Brenda, when your users get a copy of this video,
yes,
they can go in, and if they look at the left side of the screen, they will see menu items that reflect the typical EA space.
yes.
So we didn't go into that today because we're not demonstrating enterprise architecture here. We're demonstrating our solution, but those menu items can be configured to address the particular EA artifacts, process maps, whatever that is, that particular user needs access to. So
no, that's a good highlight. Thanks, Kevin. Let's see, Kirill, if someone on today's webinar has perhaps a project portfolio that's in a little bit of disarray, what would an engagement with CloseReach look like? How would you, what's the approach? How do you guys help folks?
The approach would be, we would essentially have a 30 to a 60-minute discovery conversation with you to understand what exactly is in distress and what are your pain points, what's keeping you awake at night, what are the priorities and pain points that your current portfolio is experiencing right now. And then we would also understand what is your portfolio and line of business is all about, right? Because I showcased today, we showcased two different examples. I've showcased one that's a little bit more relevant to the traditional project portfolio management, where Anthony demonstrated you an acquisition/RFP type of project management. So depending on what's your line of business, we would be able to understand how our essentially solutions be able to support you, and then based on that, start working with you to configure that out-of-the-box solution to meet your business needs. So
it's a fairly well-established sort of framework approach, right? So you're bringing something solid to the prospects. Francois, you're welcome for this demo. So thank you for this demo from Francois Couillard. 3 questions, so get ready. 1, what is the alignment between PM process and EA processes, such as advisory, options analysis services, or solution assessments, which are tied to the PM process? Do you want me to repeat that?
Yes, please, one more time.
It's in the chat if you want to have a look at the chat from Francois. What is the alignment between PM process and EA processes, such as advisory or options analysis services or solution assessments, which are tied to the PM process?
So you could build so what you saw today was a governance workflow for driving projects through different governance states. At any point, in those particular states, you could kick off a secondary workflow that drives that kind of assessment process. So if I'm initiating a project, I could, as part of that state, kick off a secondary governance workflow that would, have assessment steps. And before the project could move to the next state in the project portfolio management governance workflow, you would have to complete that other assessment workflow. So yeah, the two can be integrated quite easily.
Okay, and sorry, Kevin, we're running a little short on time, so I'm going to jump to his other 2 questions. And Francois, we can connect with you directly afterwards as well to go into a little deeper explanations. Any considerations to align to TBS Clarity?
So TBS Clarity is an application portfolio management tool. It's a little bit outside of project portfolio management from what I know, but we have a number of clients that use us for application portfolio management and automatically and actively extract all of that data into the data loader and feed that to Clarity. So there is already a use case available for that.
You can do it round trip as well, Francois. So really we can tie to any data source that you want. It's really what is your intent of use and where do you want things to sit? And third question, does your PM management approach align to ISO PM bucket? So I would say yes. That's your short answer. Yes.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, with that, we should probably wrap things up because we're going to lose people. We've come to the end of our time. So thank you so much to the CloseReach team. Very much appreciated with all your work and effort and your demonstrations. And with anyone who has attended, again, we will be sending the recording and some resources to everyone who has registered. And if you have further questions, please reach out to the CloseReach team directly or to myself, and we'll all get on a call and help you move things forward. Thanks, everyone. Great job.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Thanks, Brenda.